Trap cards are one of the most unique elements of Yu-Gi-Oh! And their function is very literal. You set them, hidden from your opponent, until the moment is right. They may be a little slower than other card types, but they usually have a massive impact. But traps and trap decks often catch unsuspecting opponents off guard. And over the years, we've had things like Trap Tricks, Paleozoics, Eldritch, Dynamorphia, Labyrinth, and unfortunately Argo Stars. But one of my favorite trap decks is Altergeist. The Altergeist archetype is from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns anime, and it's a series of spellcasters that combine with link monsters and traps to create a control style of play. This was one of the most infamous trap decks in 2019, but it's kind of gone silent since then. And in this video, we're going to take a look at what happened to Altergeist. Altergeist debuted in Circuit Break in October of 2017, along with the Rocket archetype. And similar to Rockets and the other Reigns anime decks, it didn't start well, but it gradually picked up. We got 8 Altergeist cards in Circuit Break, and the best place to start is with the normal summon Altergeist Marionetter. Marionetter is a level 4 light monster with an effect that reads, when this card is normal summoned, you can set one Altergeist trap directly from your deck. You can target one Altergeist card you control and one Altergeist monster in your graveyard. Send the card on the field to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon the other monster from the graveyard. Marionetter by today's standards isn't the best normal summon, but at the time it was pretty decent. In effect, to set trap cards from the deck wasn't unheard of, but it was uncommon. And if you set Protocol, which we'll talk about later, Marionetter was a 1-card monster negate. Next is arguably the best card of this wave, Altergeist Muleseek. Muleseek is a level 1 water monster that can attack directly. It only has 800 attack, so it's not doing much damage, but when it does inflict battle damage to your opponent, you can target a card they control and send it to the graveyard. So despite its size, Muleseek can take out larger threats through its effect, and it can play around cards that get effects when they're destroyed. And finally, if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add an Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand. This is a great card, and its importance in the deck grew as time went on. Conquery is effectively a battle trap. If your opponent attacks and you control an Altergeist card, Conquery can special summon itself, negate the attack, and then negate a face-up card your opponent controls. And it remains negated while Conquery is on the field. This card has always been a one-of, but for a control deck, this card's pretty good, as it can protect your monsters and slow the pace of the game. And Silcatus pairs pretty well with Conquery. As a quick effect, Silcatus can return an Altergeist card you control to the hand to target and return a card your opponent controls to the hand. And if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can recycle an Altergeist trap. Silcatus is one of the main disruptions of the deck to this day. A quick effect bounce is pretty good, and the recycling effect is good, although you don't really want this card to hit the graveyard if you're running one copy. And the final monster in the first wave was Prima Banshee. It's a Link 3 which requires 2 or more Altergeist monsters, and its effect reads, during the main phase, quick effect, you contribute one other Altergeist monster. Special summon one Altergeist monster from your deck to a zone this card points to. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one Altergeist card in your grave, add it to your hand. Prima Banshee is a good card, but the early variants of the deck were not very link heavy. It was kind of hard to make, especially with this set of cards surrounding it. You needed 3 Altergeists, and then you needed a 4th to activate its effect. Moving on to the traps, we will start with Protocol. Protocol is a continuous trap that prevents your Altergeist monster's effects from being negated, in addition to being a monster negate by sending another Altergeist card you control to the graveyard. This card is really good, and it allows Altergeist to use Skill Drain. If you have Protocol and Skill Drain up at the same time, it'll only affect your opponent's monsters. Camouflage equips to a monster and protects it from battle destruction and has a graveyard effect, but it never really saw any play. And the final card is Personal Spoofing, another continuous trap which allows you to shuffle an Altergeist card on your field or hand into the deck to search an Altergeist monster. Personal Spoofing is a great card, but I do have one issue with it. Mainly the fact that it's not searchable. Now, search cards not being searchable is not rare. It's actually pretty common and is usually used as a way to balance the power of an archetype. There are cards like Gladiator Proving Ground prior to Supreme Darkness, Charge of the Light Brigade, and Nadir Servant. It's not new, but the difference between those cards and spoofing is that you don't have to wait a turn to activate them. But this wasn't really a problem prior to Duelist Nexus. It's easy to look back at the first wave in hindsight and say that it's missing a card like Multi-Faker, because we know what came later, but there was clearly a hole. Of course Konami knew they were going to make more Altergeist support, but it's always frustrating when an archetype doesn't click on release. And of course this is intentional, so you buy the next set, but sometimes they don't hide it very well. Not the best start, but a decent foundation. Altergeist got 2 more cards in Extreme Force, being Extia and Manifestation, and these were crucial additions. Extia is a link 2 which gains attack equal to the attack of the Altergeist monster at points 2, and can negate spells and traps by tributing an Altergeist monster at points 2. And finally, if it was sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add an Altergeist card from your deck to your hand. Extia was effectively the boss monster of the deck up to this point. The negate and search were huge, and it being Link 2 meant it was a lot easier to summon than Prima Banshee. And the other new card was Manifestation, which is a searchable Call of the Haunted. And in the grave, it can banish itself to recycle an Altergeist trap in your graveyard. These two elevated the deck, but it was the next set that took Altergeist to the next level. Flames of Destruction was released in May of 2018 and featured 4 new cards, but I'm gonna ignore Pixel, Kadolga, and Amulatelf, because there's only one card that really matters. Altergeist Multi-Faker. Multi-Faker is a level 3 dark monster with an effect that reads, if you activate a trap card, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon one Altergeist monster from your deck in defense position except itself. You cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect except Altergeist monsters. This is the heart and soul of the deck and pieces everything together. Summoning another monster allowed you to make link plays, you could summon Silcatus off its effect, and then Silk could bounce Multi-Faker, so you could use it on the following turn, and if you activated and used the effect of spoofing to search Multi-Faker, it would trigger its effect to summon itself. Infinite Impermanence was also released in the same set, and complemented Multi-Faker perfectly. If you impermed your opponent on their first turn, it would trigger your Multi-Faker and give you a second interruption. Multi-Faker basically does everything, and after its release, we started to see Altergeist have some competitive success. And it's impossible to talk about competitive Altergeist without the name Doug Zeef. I think it's fair to call him the Altergeist King, and it's rare to see someone in the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh space continue to stick to the same deck and find success with it. These builds included powerful cards like Pot of Extravagance, as well as Solemn Strike and Judgment. Altergeist Puquiri and Memory Gant were both released in Brothers of Legend in 2021. By this point, Altergeist were kind of finished, and these cards didn't really help. Puquiri is a great link tool as it can be used as material from the hand, which addresses some of the earlier issues. Memory Gant is a game ender, kind of similar to Boral Sword, but for Altergeist. It requires 2+ Altergeist monsters, and its effect reads, during the battle phase, quick effect, you can tribute one other monster. This card gains attack equal to the tributed monster's attack on the field. When this card destroys a monster by battle, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, this card can make a second attack in a row. If this card would be destroyed, you can banish one monster from your graveyard instead. Get big, attack and destroy a monster, destroy another monster, and then attack again. It's pretty insane, but the deck was not equipped to make a big link monster at the time. But both of these cards ended up aging pretty well. And the final card of note is Altergeist Haunted Rock, which came out in Dark Neostorm along with an Altergeist Tuner and Synchro monster, which I chose not to mention because they're useless, and Haunted Rock isn't far off of useless. You have to discard an Altergeist monster to activate it, and then you can negate spell or traps by discarding an additional Altergeist monster. It's terrible, but after Duelist Nexus, it was needed for our combo line, so it's kind of important. Duelist Nexus is the most recent Altergeist support, and the cards are good, but they take the deck in a slightly different direction. Terriator is the first Fire main deck Altergeist, and it's almost like an inverse of Muleseek. It can also attack directly, but when it inflicts battle damage, you get to draw a card. And when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, instead of searching, it sends an Altergeist card from your deck to the grave. Malwisp is effectively a Poplar. It summons itself if it's searched, and when it's summoned, it can reborn an Altergeist from your graveyard in defense position, meaning it can't revive a Link monster. Malwisp finally gave the deck the ability to Link climb in a slightly more effective manner. If you open Muleseek, you could normal summon Muleseek, make Almirage, search Malwisp, summon it and revive Muleseek, then make Hextia and work from there. And to round off the monsters, we got a new Link 4 in Altergeist Admenia. Its effect reads: if this card is Link summoned, you can set one Altergeist trap directly from your deck. While this card is face up on the field, during the main phase, quick effect, you can send one card you control to the graveyard, then target an effect monster your opponent controls. Take control of that target, and if you do, it's also treated as an Altergeist monster. This card is excellent. It sets a trap from the deck and is a snatch steal. And the monster being treated as an Altergeist monster is actually significant, as it means the monster can work with cards like Hexia and Protocol, as well as being usable as Link material. And the last card was Altergeist Revitalization. It summons an Altergeist Link from the graveyard, and by banishing it from the grave, you gain an additional normal summon, but you can only use one effect per turn and only once that turn. For only 4 cards, they actually managed to pack a lot into them. The deck could finally utilize its arsenal of Link monsters, however, it left less of a place for the trap cards that define this deck at the height of its popularity. So what happened to Altergeist? I think there are 2 issues, and the first is pretty obvious: power creep. In its earlier and arguably most imposing form, you are making the most of Multifaker and Silicatus with your set back row. These cards are still good, but not as powerful as they used to be in 2019, but that's reasonable. But the power creep discussion doesn't really end there. Konami doesn't design as many trap-based archetypes as they do for other playstyles like Combo. And in addition, they're not always home runs. Obviously, Combo reigns supreme in this game, and I don't really have an issue with that. But it means we kind of have to milk the same trap deck, usually for years, until they crumble into dust. And I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like Labyrinth is approaching the stage. Lab is designed in a way where it really benefits off of generic traps, which will help its longevity, but every passing format it looks a little bit worse. The second issue I have is the push to a Link focus strategy and the Multifaker lock. These two seem like separate issues, but they're kind of connected. The modern Altergeist combos get you access to at least 2 of your traps from the deck, but even with the new support, the deck is just not quite designed to be a Link deck. It's just a little too wonky. If your Muleseek search gets negated, your turn is over. That's not an exaggeration. There's too much weight put onto this one card. The deck just also doesn't have enough extenders. Outside of Pukuri, which is surprisingly good, the others aren't doing much work. Malwisp is a decent card in tandem with Muleseek, but there aren't a ton of ways to get it on board easily without the search. The wave from Duelist Nexus really could have used more monsters that could summon themselves. The Link monsters also have their own set of problems too. The Links can only be summoned using Altergeist monsters. Most of these Links are from the era where the deck wasn't Link climbing, so it actually makes sense, and I like that Konami tried to keep them contained within the archetype, but it really hurts the deck in the long run. It's hard to bridge into Altergeist with other engines. And this leads me to Multifaker. Multifaker being integral makes it so difficult to combine Altergeist with other strategies. Once again, I get why it has the restriction. The effect of summon from the deck is super powerful, especially for its time, but it's really rough. And I don't think it's the right kind of lock you make for an archetype like this. One of my favorite decks is DDD, and a lot of the cards in that will lock you into the archetype. Abyss King Gilgamesh is a perfect example, but an archetype lock is fine in DDD because the archetype has like 60 or 70 cards. It's okay that you're locked in because you still have some options. There are 25 Altergeist cards, including personal spoofing, which isn't searchable by the way, and at least 10 of them are straight up bad. There just isn't enough to work with inside the archetype. As of me recording this video, it doesn't look like we'll be getting anything anytime soon. But in terms of suggestions, I'd like to see a Link 1 and a way to search or activate personal spoofing. I think those would help a lot. Instead of being disappointed by the trajectory of Altergeist, I think it's important to recognize that it did have its time in the sun. There are so many archetypes that come out and never really get a chance to shine. It might have been relatively brief, but Altergeist have certainly made their mark on the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That's the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. What is your favorite trap archetype or trap card? Leave it in the comments below, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.